Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts, sports journalist David Todd, and from SteelersDepot.com, Dave Bryan. Just a couple of Daves, chillin', talking Steelers. Now, here's Dave and Dave.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Dave. He's Dave Bryan at SteelersDepot.com, a place to get your latest and greatest Steelers information. And I'm David Todd at Season 9, Episode 26. And Dave, the Steelers aren't going to go winless in 2018.
Woohoo! I don't know where you want to start on this thing. I was thinking to myself that about 30 minutes before we got on with each other, and I thought, maybe we should start with wondering what we learned about this team Monday night. And I think the answer to that is yes. Really, I don't think we have learned anything about this team. And we'll go through this thing in a little bit. Look, I mean, they came all the way with the win. That's the most important thing here. I still don't classify that last night as a must-win because of the way the schedule is breaking at the early part of the year. You obviously would like to get your first one and get that one out of the way. It sure eases things for sure. And look, I mean, with that win right now, if you win again in Week 4 against Baltimore, and if Cincinnati loses to, who did I say Cincinnati plays this week? Atlanta, I think. And, you know, Cleveland, of course, does whatever, then you're in first place. And don't look now, David, but the Steelers are a half a game ahead of the New England Patriots. I wonder how that locker room's going right now.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to think. I was reading the Globe. I read the Globe on occasion, and it's panic mode up there. Just like after the Steelers lost last weekend to the Chiefs, their national writers writing about, is this the beginning of the end, and all the various things that come with that. Of course, they're going to get Josh Gordon back and get Julian Edelman back, which will add to their offense, and we'll see how it goes for them. But for the Steelers, just a big picture before we get into the details of the game. I think this team, at least for me, is exactly where I thought they were going to be. I thought they'd be a good offensive team and a poor defensive team. And while we saw some things to get excited about in that first half last night, a pretty good pass rush in generating 4 turnovers, that's really kind of not something you can count on consistently in the NFL. And in today's NFL, look, the reality is, whether you like it or I like it or not, this game is getting a hell of a lot closer to flag football than it's ever been. And that means that if you score 30 points in the first half, you better try to score 30 points in the second half, because it's easy to score in today's NFL. We are 3 weeks into the NFL season, Dave, and there are 3 undefeated teams and there are 3 winless teams. And it means when you're a 17-point favorite, like the Vikings were at home against the Bills, that it's more likely today than ever that you're going to lose that game. And we see the Jags, beat New England at home and then score 6 points against the Titans, and they lose 9-6. And we saw various games this weekend where it just makes you scratch your head. And the only team that I would bet on today is Kansas City, because I feel like they can put up 50 every week. But I don't know who. I'm not sure right now who else is good in the NFL. I'd say the Rams are good and the Chiefs are good. And I'm not. Who's going to bet on Miami at 3-0? They've had the easiest schedule possible, and so anything can happen. And I just feel like this Steelers team. I think this podcast is probably going to end up being a bit more negative than it probably should be, where the Steelers are at 1-1-1, because the Chiefs are obviously an offensive juggernaut, maybe the likes of which we haven't seen in a long time, and the Browns' defense isn't bad. And Tampa's got, does some good offensive things, things offensively as well. So 1-1-1 isn't what either of you or I predicted. In fact, we were both kind of thinking this was going to be 3-0. But maybe it's not the disaster that it's going to sound like when we're finished, or that a lot of people think it is this morning.
Well, I think it goes back to what I said at the top of the show there. I mean, what have we learned about this team, this past week? And really not much, right? I mean, they got a few extra turnovers, which was nice, but Make no mistake about it, Fitzpatrick missed some throws. He left some throws out there, I thought, in this game. A few of the turnovers not necessarily on him. Obviously, the one, the pick six to Bud Dupree was just absolutely miserable, and really I kind of felt that coming deep down. Look, you move this guy off the spot. And I wrote that ahead of the game. If you get him moving off the spot, that's when Fitzpatrick has been known to not be at his best. And they had him under pressure quite a bit. That was good to see. They weren't finishing off some of those sacks, unfortunately, and it resulted in some big plays. And, the thing is they did, unlike the game against Kansas City in week 2, they forced some more third downs in this game, 9, I think, in total. But the 2 of the 3 that they allowed were like 14 and 18 yards. How do you give up a 3rd and 14 and a 3rd and 18 in a game here? But they did get more pressure. They did get some turnovers in this game, and luckily they did just enough to hold on for the win, because like you said, you scored 30 in the first half. It was disappointing that they couldn't score any points in the second half, despite the fact that it felt like they were moving the football at times. And I think it was just kind of the opposite of Tampa Bay in the first half, right? They were able to move the football in the first half. They just couldn't put points on it.
Turned it over, right?
Yeah, they kept turning the football over, and the Angels, you just can't turn the football over that many times in a game and expect to win. And that's really what came back to, I think, bite Tampa Bay. But look, same old penalty problem. In fact, even more penalties for the Steelers last night. They had averaged 12 a week.
24, 12 a game, yeah.
Right, 12 a game in the first 2, and then you get
13 last night.
And they had 9 at halftime, and they didn't even have a penalty in the third quarter. So so there you go. So yeah, let me look. They're hop on that plane real quick and get back home and take that win and move on to the next week. But I don't think we learned anything new about this team.
No, I agree. That's a good point. What we've learned is they are who we thought they were. I mean, this team is showing up to be, very much what we thought they would be coming into the season. And that, I thought they're going to have some problems defensively, but I didn't think they'd be this bad defensively, to be honest with you. And I mean, especially against the pass. I mean, they're okay against the run and all like that, but I mean, I thought they'd be this bad against the pass. I did.
Eight explosive plays allowed last night, and
8 more explosive.
Yeah, eight more explosive plays they allowed last night.
So let's do. Before we get into kind of going through the game, the guys who I thought played well defensively, I thought Bostic by far his best game. He showed an ability to run that we hadn't seen as much. He was able to get pressure on the quarterback. He obviously big play on the interception, tipping that ball. So I thought he had a good game. I thought Mike Hilton was great.
That went off his helmet, by the way.
Yeah. Did it hit his helmet?
Yeah, I didn't realize that until first time back through the game.
Still counts.
It still counts. Fitzpatrick dunked that one right off of his helmet.
I thought Mike Hilton was very good when he was in there, and again, it goes back to I think it goes back to the point with Joe Hayden last week is the Steelers don't have enough depth in the secondary. The guys who aren't playing aren't that good, and so if anybody goes out. And anybody, meaning I think their 2 best defenders have clearly been Mike Hilton and Joe Hayden, last year and this year in the defensive secondary. If you lose one of those 2 guys, it means somebody else is in there playing. And, Cody Sensabaugh made a couple plays, but then he deteriorated in the second half and already got torched again. And it's, that side's a disaster. So, again, when you talk about, it was good to see them get pressure. I don't think they get pressure with 4 as often as you would like. But they dialed up the exotics, and I think they got pressure or they got some kind of, pressure, knockdown, hurry, or sack on 40% of Fitzpatrick's dropbacks. And that's a big improvement over what they did the first 2 weeks. So that was, defensively, that was the key. And they made the look. You have to catch the ball in the interceptions, and we've talked about over the years how Steeler DBs have not been great at catching the football. Well, they caught the balls they should have caught. Maybe they could even have caught one or two more late in the game. There would have been tough plays, but you see Edmonds run, and you saw him take that upfield. He looked elusive and dangerous at returning that ball. And the other plays the guys made, Bud took it to the house, and Hilton got his. So there were positives there, and there were some good things to see. It's just that pass defense. It's really bad. It's really bad.
Especially down the sides. Well, I mean, the sides and the middle of the field deep. They just if they don't get home, it just seems like that they're going to get beat. I mean, Artie. I mean, how do you let? And look, it just wasn't.
Right. How do you let Mike Evans beat you deep in a game with that score at that time of the game? How is that inexcusable?
Right. And look, I mean, Sensabaugh wasn't much better. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. I mean, they got issues on the other side over there. I mean, I don't know what's next. Do you just put Sutton over there?
Why do you think Sutton didn't get a chance? Why was it? I mean, he last year worked both sides, if I remember correctly. Or are they viewing him as a one-sided guy, or do you think Sensabaugh's ahead of him on the depth chart? I mean, they obviously split time when Hayden was out last week on that left side. Think he's just green enough that they want him to work on one side?
It might be the whole thing and not trying to put too much on his plate too. Still early, but I mean, sometimes you gotta find out if these guys can sink and swim. I mean, he did play outside, some last year after he came back from that hamstring injury. Maybe it is more of a side thing. I don't know here. But look, I mean, Joe Hayden made a few plays last night, even though that one on the end zone to Chris Godwin. That was a great play by Joe Hayden in the end zone, but Chris Godwin's got to catch that ball on top.
Yeah, he should have caught that ball.
On top of there. The fact that, and I can't wait to see some of these. Boy, you wish sometimes the TV view would give you a few better angles than they do. I mean,
well, the angle that they gave us on Ryan Switzer, live angle on Ryan Switzer's touchdown catch was the worst thing I've ever. I mean, come on, man. Get us back to the view of the line of scrimmage and what's going on. That was ridiculous.
Reminds me of hockey when they try to NBC try to introduce those new camera angles and all. Like during the Winter Classic and all. I don't need to see that. Just show me the regular view of the game that I've seen for the last 45 years of my life.
Right. Or the one from behind the quarterback is fine because you can see the whole field. But I mean, you can't give me an end zone shot at ground level.
Right, and they didn't even show that route. I know how that route developed because I've seen it before. But I mean, the common man right now still doesn't know what happened on that play. But back to the secondary here. Look, even on Sean Davis, there were situations where he's just flat-footed. He should have bought a ticket on a few of those. Because
I'm not giving him any props. I mean, I remember a play or two where he made a good play, but I mean, plenty more the other direction.
You can't.
I mean, I mentioned Cameron Braid as a guy I was worried about in this game because the guy hadn't gotten any targets. You heard Cutter talk about him. The head coach talked about him as a guy we haven't even used yet. And boy, those two tight ends had to be licking their chops. And again, we saw it. They both. Braid ends up 3 for 34, and Howard ends up 6 for 72. There's your tight ends, 9 for 106 and a touchdown. Can't cover them.
Yeah, and on that, it'll be interesting to look at the all 22 on that break touchdown too, because it looked like Edmonds didn't know what the heck he was doing in there. I mean, his reactions alone makes it look like he was confused on what was going on coming off of that side there. Not saying that was on him. I'll have to look at it closer and all, but growing pains from him. I mean, the whole secondary just looks lost at times. There was some slipping early in that game. Bud Dupree slipped, I think, on that touchdown. Who was it that? I think someone else slipped maybe on that touchdown there. Looked like some footing issues early on, but they did move. The Buccaneers did move the football, like I said, in that first half. pretty much at will, and just if not for, I mean, look, even on the couple of turnovers there, you get one to bounce off of Bostic's helmet up into the air, and then you dang sure better come down with that one. And then
Evans, cut a route off going over the middle. I mean, it was just miscommunication for those two guys. He floats it in there, and an easy play for Edmonds. Yep.
Right, and then the fumble recovery, they pulled the old let's miss a tackle, and good things will happen again. I mean, you draw that thing up, and Mike Hilton has him on the ground to start with, and you don't get the fumble. But Mike Hilton misses the tackle. Artie puts his helmet on the football. Out pops and someone said to me, "Boy, that Mike Hilton, that was a heck of a half he had." I really do like Mike Hilton, but let's frame it the right way. He was in the right place at the right time on both of those turnovers.
Yeah, of course. And like you said, it wasn't, there weren't spectacular individual plays. The best individual play on the turnover was the pick that the Tampa kid made, safety coming up and made a nice catch in front of Juju. And, Juju, he didn't come back to the ball, but he's kind of running his route that way. That's not so easy to stop and come back to that. And, Ben thought he saw a window that wasn't there. That was probably the best play anybody made on a turnover. So, okay, well, this thing – both teams go 3 and out to start the game, Dave, and you kind of wonder how this game is going to go, and just the fact that the Steelers get a penalty on the opening kickoff. Okay, so that that starts you deep in your own hole, and okay, so the Bucs get stuffed on 3 plays, 2 incompletions, and then Ben throws the pick after moving the ball a little bit. You just wonder if it's going to be more of the same as the Bucs go down the field. And they went down the field in chunks. I mean, it was 14, it was 4, it was 13, it was 18, and then it was a touchdown. They made it look easy, and I'm sure, and I'll put myself in this group. I was looking at them giving up 30 or 40 points again. Look, they did end up giving up 27, but it was not an auspicious start again.
Well, you go and right before the game too, I posted on Twitter that you look at the Buccaneers touchdown drives this year, and a lot of them, I think at least half of them were 6 plays or less. And of course they had 2, I think, that were 4-play drives, and then 2 others, of course, were 1-play 75-yard drives. And one of the keys I thought to the game was, if you make them put together, if you don't give up the chunk plays and you make Fitzpatrick and that offense try to put together 8, 9, 10 play drives to score, they're probably not going to be able to do that. But they give up chunks right out of the chute there, as you said, and then they're in the end zone. You're thinking to yourself, man alive, here we go again, 7-0.
And then it all got good. I mean, you're not going to. You look at how the rest of that half went in possessions. I mean, the Steelers go touchdown, Tampa punt, Steelers field goal, Tampa fumble, Steelers touchdown, Tampa interception, Steelers punt, Tampa interception, Steelers punt, Tampa interception for a touchdown, field goal for the Bucs. I mean, everything. Things just went gloriously the Steelers' way, and
at least we got to see the Vance McDonald that we hoped to see before training camp got underway and all. I mean, that's what Vance McDonald can do for you if he can stay healthy. I mean, he just told Chris Conte to sit the heck down. And
that Steeler highlight of the year, would you bet that will be the singular play of the year for the Steelers? I said it. I tweeted it when it happened. I said I'll be surprised no matter how the season goes if that is not the highlight play of the season.
I don't know. I mean, was Le'Veon Bell's stiff arm of Drake Kirkpatrick, that happened kind of early in the season, right? And we thought maybe that might be. It's a long season, David. I mean,
I'll give you the field. That was about as fun as you'll get to see Cam Hayward going nuts on the sideline. I mean, that was.
Cam Hayward looks like he saw a crime. I mean, look,
for Vance McDonald, and look, the Steelers have gotten good production from their tight ends as well. Jesse had the 138 last week. These guys combined for about that again this week with the 2 of them. McDonald over 100, I think maybe the first time in his career. So, yeah, no doubt, positive stuff out of the tight ends.
I mean, you ought to have those mismatches with him. You ought to be able to move him around and have those mismatches with McDonald based on what you have on offense. I mean, there's absolutely, and even not having Le'Veon Bell, you have enough there that if McDonald stays healthy, you should be able to present yourself with some. Look, other teams do it to the Steelers, right? I mean, as good a game as I thought Bostic had, and let's make no mistake. I said about Bostic when they signed him, this is a guy that plays downhill very good. He's a guy that plays the run. He's a smart guy. He's going to play good with the ball in front of him. Where you're going to have to worry about him is where we've worried with every other non-Ryan Shazier linebacker, and that's running down the field. Now, he did have the pass breakup where he got his hands up on one of those, but, quite honestly, that's a catch. I forget who it was, if that was OJ or not, OJ Howard on that one. I think it was. But, 9 times out of 10, that tight end probably needs to catch that ball there overall. But Bostic's not a bad player. It's just, know your limitations with Bostic. I'm sure most of the listeners do know that when it comes to him. But the reason I went that way is, with McDonald, you ought to be doing these same things to opposing defenses that they're doing to you with a guy like McDonald. That means right down the seam on some of these because of the offensive weapons that you have.
Yep, no doubt about it. So, so the Steelers get the big splash play, and things turn obviously their way, get the 7-6 lead. And, I think your point here was good about, they were able to move the ball. And this is when we started to see, the penalties stacking up here. And we can just go back to this because it's going to be a weekly topic of conversation about the roughing the passer stuff. And honestly, Ben got landed, Ben got the hand on the head. That's an automatic call. That's a given. Ben said the other one he thought was, the one where Gerald McCoy pushed him. I thought that was a tough call. I thought Gerald McCoy got a bad deal on that one. And I think Ben said as much after the game. On the Steelers penalties, the ones that were called against the Steelers, well, I think the rule is atrocious. By rule, both of those looked like penalties to me. Did you see it the same way?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gone back to rewatch those penalties specifically.
Bostic and Tuitt, I think, yeah. Well, first it was on this drive that we're talking about. This is the unnecessary roughness penalty on Bostic. I didn't see it live. I'm sure everybody saw it on the replay. I mean, it was clear helmet to helmet.
Oh, yeah, on the Ryan Fitzpatrick scramble, yeah, that's going to cost him a FedEx check, right? I mean, the FedEx delivery is going to be coming from Bostic on that one. You just can't hit the quarterback up high like that.
Yeah, and so that gives up 15 yards, and the Steelers get in a situation where Tampa has a first down at the Steelers 29, and this is one of the best things the Steelers did, the whole night, is they moved him out of field goal range. You stop the run, you get the incompletion, and then Chickillo gets the sack. And, we saw a little bit more of Chickillo in this game than we saw the first 2 weeks. And, he made his presence felt at times, and that was a big sack because it took him out of field goal range.
And that was a good effort on that sack as well, too.
He did too. Went through, 3 guys on that play?
At least 2. I remember looking at that about 4 hours ago. And, I mean, that was great effort on. He earned that one, and that was a big because they were definitely, it was 3rd and 8 at 27. Even if they throw incomplete, they're going to probably attempt a field goal there. But instead, you get a 9-yard sack on that, and it's just enough to push them out of field goal range. And that ended up being you don't know it at the time, but it ended up being a huge play in the game.
It did. And then, then the Steelers right back again, the big pass to Juju this time. And
that should have been picked. Quite honestly, I thought that was going to be picked.
It went over the middle, right? The corner kind of lost. I don't know if he lost his footing, but he certainly didn't time his jump well.
Grimes.
Was it Grimes? Yeah, on that side. Yep. Yeah. And yeah, you're right. And, that goes in the books for, there were a couple balls been through that you could argue maybe should have been picked. But that was a big one. And obviously that was the huge play. And then they get, another big play to McDonald. They get shut down. Whatever you think on running on 3rd and 13, or throwing a short pass on 3rd and 13. Didn't want to have the Tampa situation where you take the sack and get moved out of field goal range. And then Boswell, after missing the extra point, hits the field goal. So let's get the question out there because we should have probably brought it up after the first touchdown when he missed the extra point off the right upright.
Eight.
What's that?
8.
What, the dead cap money?
No, 8. You're going to ask me where my confidence level is. It's right
Oh,
where it was.
Yeah.
Did you ask me that on the last week at this time?
Yeah, well, I think I asked you about Jordan Berry maybe, but but I mean, look, I have complete confidence in Boswell. Look, he's missed, no doubt, he's missed as many kicks as he missed all last year. He's missed 2 extra point, 3 field goals. I think he's hit the upright on three or four of the 5, but that doesn't make it any better. You're supposed to get him between the uprights, and it felt like both those balls he kicked last night that hit the right upright could have gone through. Neither of them did, and it hurts you. There's no question it hurts you. I mean, the Steelers, one more point would have made it a touchdown game instead of a field goal game down the stretch. And obviously the field goal would have made it, a bigger situation. Makes them both. It's a 7-point game. So, they're significant. There's no doubt about it. But I don't have any. So
you're telling because it was Boswell we were talking about. You're telling me you haven't moved anywhere on the needle. Now, I got a good right to say I haven't moved on a needle because I was on the 8 on the worried scale.
If it happens another week, if it happens again, I'll worry about it. I mean, the 2 field goal misses, they're 40, 49 and 46. So not exactly chip shots, but the extra points are chip shots and they count. So, if it continues another week, I'll start to get worried. But I mean, I was sitting with some people and they were like, bring kickers in. We might have to cut them. There's 3 games in. This guy's done it for 3 years now. 3 years? How many years? 3 years? 2 years. He's been fantastic. I'm not cutting him yet.
No, I'm not cutting him yet, but I'm worried. These.
Oh, 8 is that 8? 8 is worried or 8 is confident?
8 is worried.
Oh yeah, I'm on the other end of the spectrum still.
Yeah, I know you are. I worry about these guys are different. I've said it every time. These guys are different animals. Once something gets in there, you worry about them. That's where I am with him.
Okay. So anyway, Boswell makes the 38-yarder down the middle.
I'm not cutting him, but I'm worried about him.
All right, fair enough. Then the Steelers get the 2-play turnover again. And it's make the most of it in a hurry, and all of a sudden things are going well because you get 6 from Connor off the right side, and then I haven't watched this play enough again, and somebody asked me, was it an audible by Ben? I said it could have been a read. The corner's playing off. He doesn't have safety help over the top. Safety's in the middle of the field. I said, I don't know. It could have been. Did you see it thinking about the play again?
When that happened, I rewound that thing 3 times to see if I could see Ben give some sort of the signal, and I couldn't see it. So we'll see what the all 22 shows on that. But Connor, I mean, that looks like it might be an RPO.
Yeah.
Because the way Connor's trying to run that thing, come through on it as well too. And of course, you can have some RPOs where you have that wide receiver screen built into it just in case, as an option there. So I had to go back, and I didn't see any visible sign of a signal. But here's the thing. And this goes back to kind of what we talked about in that game against the Chiefs. You try to scheme yourself into matchup situations to get yourself into a look that you like, where you can get one player on one player. And that's when you're going to take your chances in situations like that.
Yeah.
So when you have Brent Grimes, who, by the way, is coming off, it's his 2018 debut. He's coming off of a groin injury. I think Brent Grimes is 35. Playing off in that sort of situation, why wouldn't you try to get the ball in your best player's hands and then go one-on-one? And that's exactly what Ben did. That was the right, regardless if AB's tackled for a 2-yard loss or a 2-yard gain. That was the right decision by Ben, and Antonio won the matchup.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was, really only Antonio's his only big play. I mean, he caught a pass on the sideline that was important, but that was that was his highlight for the night. And then, so the Steelers now 16-7, and then they get the first of is this the first or second? First of four turnovers, all in the second quarter, by the way. So this is the one that Mike Hilton, picks off deep in Steeler territory, which after they'd given up, the big gain to Mike Evans and the unnecessary roughness penalty on Sean Davis. That's how you take away the middle of the field. You just make them not have to go over it. Mike Evans gets the big pass, and you give him an extra 15, and bam, they're deep in Steeler territory.
Yeah, once again, they moved. The football was moved down the field, and thank goodness that one. I think this is the one that clanked right off of Bostic's helmet.
Yeah.
I think, and Mike Hilton corralled it. So, dodged a bullet there.
So the Steelers go 3 and out, punt, or 4 plays and punt. Nothing. Ben throws deep to Juju. Now again, if Ben's overall play, we critique Ben's overall play. I mean, a good game. He won the game for him, no question about it. Made some big passes when he needed to make some big plays. Obviously, he's still having trouble connecting to the deep ball. It's good to see him using the middle of the field. That's been something that I've talked about a lot over the past couple of years. He's used that with the tight ends. He's gotten Juju on some crossing routes, but he's still missing. And a couple passes to James Washington in the middle of the field. Good to see. Good catches. But he's still having trouble on the deep ball, Dave. What do you think of what you've seen through 3 games?
Yeah, I mean, look, what did I put up on the Twitter machine last night? 1 of 6, I think, on the deep ball. He's horrible down the sides of the field.
He's not keeping it in play, and it's not because the safety's getting over. I mean, it still looks like it's man coverage without safety help. There's the window's there.
He had AB on one of them down the right side and missed. He did. And to me, going into that game last night, I thought there was going to be some chances to go after those corners deep down the sides, and especially Grimes. Look, Grimes is a great player, but I mean he's coming off that groin injury. He's 35. He's not the tallest animal. So I thought there'd be chances to get on top of him in the corner on the other side, and they just couldn't take advantage of it. Just think how life would have been a little bit easier last night had Ben been able to hit a couple of those, or really all season long. Here we are 3 games in, and I don't have them in front of me, but I'm willing to bet that Ben only has 3 or 4 deep completions so far this year, and not many of them down the side. Not many of them outside the numbers, if any, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they get to, Tuitt gets his roughing the passer for, he landed on him. I think it was an okay call. As Fitzpatrick took a deep shot to Humphreys. The Tampa was not shy about taking shots deep. And then they float the pass in there that Edmonds picks off. Did a really nice job returning the ball for 35 yards. But Steelers don't do anything with this drive. And Ben gets sacked, and he gets sacked twice on this drive. And this is the age-old argument if you're a Steeler fan. Ben holds the ball, runs around, makes plays. That's Ben being Ben, and it's great. Ben holds the ball, and I think one of these plays he was looking left. He never got past the center of the field in his reads, and he ended up getting sacked. And it's like, what the hell is he doing? He's got to know, have to have better pocket awareness. That's what the guy next to me said. He's got to have better pocket awareness, got to get rid of the ball. And, you can't really have them both. I mean, if you had them both, you'd have the greatest quarterback of all time. I mean, if you're going to stand there and make plays, at times you're going to get sacked because you hold the ball. So what was your take on it, Dave?
It'd be nice to have a little thoughtful rhythm at times, being thoughtfully rhythmic at times.
Non-rhythmic.
Yeah, whatever it is, it'd be nice to see a little bit of rhythm. Make no mistake about it. Ben's not a true RPO quarterback, is he? I mean, he's not a. That's one thing where it's a little bit different. Where when it comes to Mason Rudolph, is going back to his tape. Is Mason Rudolph's And look, no way am I predicting success from Mason Rudolph, but one thing that his college tape shows is he can be he can have those stretches where he's rhythmic as part of an RPO, but then he can also provide you and look, I mean, not near the amount of plays in college that or the quality that Ben's made, where we go into Ben as being the Ben thing. But Mason did a few of those things, at Oklahoma State. But no, I'm not trying to compare the two. I just wish at times that Ben would be a little bit more rhythmic instead of more slanted to the backyard football.
Yeah, Dave, no doubt. You want Ben to, see his first read, and if it's open, to get the ball out. And we don't see a lot of that the way the Steelers have run their offense so far this year.
I'm not complaining, mind you. I mean, we've done this since 2004, but there are just times, and last night was one of those times where you just like to see it be a little bit more rhythmic.
Yep, and the Steelers finally did something well on special teams after the second sack, and they punt it down to the 2-yard line. That sets up a touchdown. Special teams play definitely set up a touchdown. And the Steelers, they stuffed the run, very much like in the Kansas City game. These guys were willing to sell out a bit on first down, and they had a bunch of guys there up in the box, and they made the play. And then they get the pick. And it was, as you said at the top, it was a terrible decision and throw by Fitzpatrick, and good on Bud for catching the ball and getting into the end zone. And we saw, I thought in the first half, Bud did some really nice things. Less so in the second half, but I do think, we saw some things in the first half that were encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, that was a better game for Bud. I mean, in fact, he even though I don't think it would have counted because of a penalty, I think he missed another sack coming around the edge on one of those. I think that ended up being a defensive hold on maybe T.J. Watt on one of those. But we'll see what the All-22 says on that. But I thought overall it was a good game for Bud.
Yeah, so the Steelers get to touchdown 23-7, feeling great about things. And I think this was a significant drive here that came up next. Tampa starts in their own territory. The Steelers get it, Sean Davis gets a roughing the passer call. So, they got a ton of these penalties, so everybody knows about what happened there. And then you get the deep pass behind Artie Burns that everybody, I'm sure, was just throwing their hands up as Evans goes for 51. You get the 2-minute warning, and I give the Steelers credit here. They, you mentioned it. Godwin should have probably made the play on the third down play, but the Steelers kept him out of the end zone, and that was big because now it's 23-10 and not 23-14. And then the Steelers had about as good a drive in the 2-minute warning that you'll maybe in the time that Tomlin and Roethlisberger have been together. They did everything right. They used the sideline beautifully. They used their timeouts well. Dave, it was a picture-perfect drive.
Yeah, I mean, coming off of what we saw in I guess the Kansas City game, right? During
the late touchdown, yeah.
Yeah, the one that took 4 minutes or so it seemed to score, and another 3 or whatever after they had crossed over the 20-yard line. Yeah, this was a much better control of the clock, and obviously it helps when you're completing a few passes down the field on top of it. But they were able to, I think, get out of bounds on how many? 2 of those? 3 of them. I think three of the completions they were able to get out of bounds, and that makes a big difference there as well too. I think Tampa Bay even
four of them actually. Yeah, I'm just counting on the playbook here. 4 consecutive ones. 2, and then the pass to Washington in the middle of the field, and then 2 more where they got out on you got 3 yards and they got 12 yards, and that set them up at the Tampa 2.
And look, I know James Washington only 2 catches in this game, right? But both of them in the middle of the field, and both seem to be combative type, right? With people on it.
Definitely contested.
So when you look, and we have yet to see him, do really what he did, at Oklahoma State quite a bit too, and that's stretch the field deep down the side. So imagine when they get him going in that area there. I mean, this guy, at least we know he can do the other things, and we know that because we saw him do it at Oklahoma State. the thing that we're now waiting on is for him to pop one of those 50 or 60 yarders now. So it was, even though he only had 2 catches, I thought they were impressive catches nonetheless. And we already know Juju can make the contested catch. So you got a couple of guys, well, really all 3 of them now, in AB, Juju, and Washington, that can all work the middle of the field. They all 3, Juju very good underneath. On some of those short crossers and all like that. So not a lot not to like, about this receiving core. And yeah, it was good to see them. They got this other little pesky guy in Ryan Switzer. And, the thing, and I bumped this up during on the Twitter machine right after it happened there, right before the half. Ryan Switzer's not going to be the guy that's going to give you explosive plays out of the slot. But one thing that stuck out to me when going over his tape, not only his college tape, but his brief NFL tape there, was that this guy can provide you a lot of, I hate to use the cliche Wes Welker, Julian Edelman type short yardage plays, but that's what he does, and there was a specific one that stuck out to me. It was like when he was with the Cowboys, they didn't learn how to use him properly until week 17 of the season against the Eagles. And I had a great gif of that in a short yardage situation where you just work him out of slot and you can get him open quickly for 3, 4, 5 yards, 7 yards for a first down. And props to Randy Fichtner for already being able to implement Switzer into the offense and use his strengths. And that on that
quickness, and you're dead on. And it's quickness, short space, short area quickness is what he does. He can elude guys. He can turn for that extra yard. He's tough. And, the ironic thing is he dropped the first ball the Steelers threw to him this year. But you don't expect him to drop many balls. If you've watched him catch punts, you can see his hands are really good.
And that's how you need to. Look, I'm still not a fan of using him out of the backfield, but the Cowboys, insisted on using him that way, and there's something there that they think that they can take advantage of in those situations. And I realize that the play against the Chiefs on that third down, I think more timing and more working with Roethlisberger and working, understanding situations and where defensive players are, you're going to see less of that. But that touchdown is a perfect example of how to properly use Ryan Switzer, and I don't think that's going to be his last, short yardage conversion
you're dead on. Again, short space, man coverage, quick in short spaces, and good hand. Just run the route efficiently, and get the ball to him.
That should be a gimme in certain situations, if you ask me.
Well, that's you talked about the Chief play, and that's what that's what they're looking for. That and they've got a lot of guys like obviously they can rely on there, but that's exactly how they should be using him. And
no disrespect to Eli Rogers, but Eli Rogers doesn't give you that.
No, Eli Rogers probably doesn't give you that. I don't think his hands are as good. I do think Eli Rogers is probably maybe in the open field. You'd rather have Rogers running, but in short spaces, maybe Switzer's the better guy. And we'll see. It's going to be interesting. I mean, Switzer's going to be on this team for the rest of the year. I'd be shocked if something happens. So when Eli Rogers comes back, is it duplication, or do they not even bring him back and just let him take the year off and then see what happens next year, or does he come back and either Justin Hunter or DHB isn't back? We'll wait and see. No reason to speculate it. But anyway, the Steelers get the touchdown. And Dave, did you think the game was over at halftime? I mean, realistically, did you think the Steelers had this one in the bag?
Yeah, I did. I thought, well, they put up 30 here. They're at least going to put up another 10 or 12 or 14 right, exactly. Or whatever.
They're going to score. Right. They're going to score more.
Right.
I thought it was over, and I said to the guy, he said, "What wins?" And I said, "I guarantee you 37 wins." And of course, the Steelers didn't get to 37. And in that first half, just for context about possessions, the Steelers had the long possession of the half at 4:45. Tampa's longest possession was 3:49. We go into the first 3 possessions of the second half were 7:53 by Tampa, 6:01 by the Steelers, and 5 minutes by Tampa. 3 possessions to start the half that were longer than any possession that happened in the first half. And of course, the Bucs come away with 10 and the Steelers come away with not getting 3. And so now all of a sudden it's 30-20 and it's a game.
Yeah, you start bad thoughts start running through your head.
Did you what did you think of the Chris Godwin? Did they touch him? Obviously you could see on the replay that Hilton's shoulder pad and their cleat, made contact. You think the ref made the right call at the end of the day?
Yeah, I do. And I thought, and I haven't gone back to slow this down or zoom it in. I will at some point, even on a short week. I thought someone got a hand on him after he was seemingly tripped up. I thought there was no way that nobody touched him.
Well, so Hilton was there on one side. Sean Davis stopped in front of him.
I think it was Hilton that I thought touched him after, even at as Godwin was getting up.
He definitely touched him. And the question, it looked like at that point to me, it just looked like Godwin was on his feet at that point. So I think you're right. I think he was up.
With them being all concerned about this player safety and all like that, at what point is this? Do you protect the player in a game? Because let's face it, the Steelers have been penalized so much they're probably afraid to hit the guy. Look, I'm not excusing what happened. You got to touch that guy no matter what. But I thought he was down.
After that play, they get they stuff Barber, and then Bostic gets his sack. And again, he was good getting pressure on the quarterback. And then this is the play that you referenced up top, 3rd and 18, the pass to Godwin, short left. I don't remember this play, Dave. What was this play?
It was just short to the left, and he just seemed to I think there was a missed tackle or two on that. And just seemed to weave his way on down that left side of the field.
Yeah. So he gets 19 on a 3rd and 18, and they're down to the 26. And then they, short pass to Humphreys for 16, a guy we didn't even preview before the week. Just another guy who could have caught a touchdown, but he flat fell down at the goal line. He was open earlier in the game when he would have had one. And then you get Bud's sack, and they get 3rd and goal from the 10. And again, give the Steelers some credit here. Inside the 10-yard line, the Steelers defense stiffens again. And, you're going to look back at this. Nobody was talking about it at the time, but this is a sequence where at 30-10, you get the stop, and, you look at the final score and they win by 3. So it was significant red zone stops here.
Yeah, I don't know how much, how much is that on the ineffectiveness of the Buccaneers offense at certain times. So, it's kind of a chicken and egg situation there because they had the ball a long time. 7 minutes, right? A little over 7 minutes on that drive.
7:53, almost 8 minutes and half the quarter.
That's they ate up a lot of yards, and thankfully the reversal happened on that Godwin touchdown on top of it. But a big situation there, but not the way that you want to open up the second half.
Well, right. Then the Steeler possession, they kind of methodically go down the field in a similar type of drive. Washington gets his second catch of the night. Ben misses AB deep down the right side.
How big was? Obviously Boswell missed the field goal there, but that. Finney jumping on that loose football could have been a big turning point in that game, because if Boswell makes that field goal, you got you're what, a 20-point game at that point.
Yeah, and I think I'm with you, and that was clear to me. You look at Ben and you said, it was clear to me that there's no way he was getting that ball back into his chest. He's spinning around, and you just see too many guys and too many hands flying through there that it felt like it was going to come out, and it did. And Finney wasn't the first guy to it, or he wasn't the first guy who had a shot at it, but he did a good job of getting on it. And then Boswell, again, hits it upright. And here we go. And it's, I'm sure a lot of Steeler fans haven't watched this team play now and watched this defense. They're just like, this ain't over. And it certainly wasn't over. It's Tampa Tampa just went right down the field. This was the pass. The play before the touchdown was the one they should have scored on if Humphries didn't fall down, and then they completed to Godwin for the touchdown. And you look at this drive, and it was methodical. They had the Steelers even got the benefit, right, of the chop block, where you got high load. And so, Tampa had started, at the end of the quarter, they had a 1st and 25. And they convert that 3rd and 13. Oh, excuse me. This is when they went for it on 4th down, right? And they got Brait in the middle of the field. Right.
Right. And you hate to say, if you get to stop there on 4th, you get the ball back right near midfield. So shame on them on that one. And then how many unforced penalties are this team going to take? The too many men. The 12 men on the field. What else? The DHB. Well, I don't think we've gotten to that part. Where
we haven't gotten to that yet.
But they got. It's bad. You're going to have penalties during the game. All right. You're going to have holds. You're going to have pass interference penalties and stuff like that. Just eliminate the damn false starts and the things that are so easy for them to whip out a flag on. Man, just start eliminating those.
Tampa goes down. This is where the touchdown by Deshaun Jackson. Now, if you're watching, obviously you saw that there was a flag on the field relatively early, and it's going to be, the Steelers are going to get a huge benefit because of where the ball was caught. And it turns out, they showed the replay. And, you don't always see that at the line of scrimmage where I don't know who was spinning out of that. Was that Edmonds on that play who was trying to spin out of the hold? But anyway, Deshaun Jackson, you knew when he got upfield, he was gone. And fortunately, you didn't have to wait long to know that was getting called back. But didn't make much difference because Tampa then went 92 yards against the Steelers with Howard getting chunks, with Fitzpatrick's scramble. He had that one scramble where he saw on the right side of the Steelers, on the left side of the Steelers defense, you got two guys out there. You got man coverage. They're both running go routes, and they turn their backs. And for him, he recognized it immediately. That's the easiest 17-yard run he'll ever have.
Absolutely.
And then the Evans touchdown. I don't even know what you say about that.
Yeah, not going to be the last time you see that this year.
All right. Well, so the Steelers punt again. James Conner, who at this point in the game had about 11 carries for 11 yards, goes 2 for 36. And this was, obviously a big deal. But then he loses 4 on a carry. Bucs use a timeout.
By the way, did you know James Conner was a cancer survivor?
I might have heard that. A
few times last night.
Yeah, Dave and I talked before we got on the air. It was a bit of a rough go for the Monday night crew. We're both fans of Booger, but even by the end of the game, we're less fans of Booger, and it's just not. I thought Tessitore is a good broadcaster, but he and Witten have no chemistry, and Witten has not been good at all.
No, they need and look, Booger. I think Booger is good in that role. I think Booger did a better job of college football, to be honest with you. But he's tolerable, but he wasn't towards the end of the game. But my God, didn't even James Conner even tell him, look, I want to be known, enough of the cancer survivor thing. Oh, I want to be known as a 3-down running back. And all they did, all we heard last night was Le'Veon Bell, who didn't play a single down in the game. I got tired of them. Like 3 minutes talking about Le'Veon Bell, it seemed like.
And his contract situation, pay him the money. That was the thing at the end. He deserves his money. Shut up.
Yeah, and then even before the game, Charles Woodson saying, he wants the Steelers to pay him.
Same shit.
Stupid. And then James Conner, it's all about, he's a cancer survivor.
So anyway, the cancer survivor had a couple big carries on this last drive.
He had a couple of nice pass pros in that game as well too, and that's good. We've seen now for the first 3 games of this season. Hasn't been perfect, obviously, but we've seen him make leaps and bounds of progress when it comes to pass pros. So take your hat off and hand it to him there.
All right, so this is a significant sequence here. There's 3:29 left in the game. Tampa has used their first timeout. The Steelers have a 2nd and 14. Now they hit Ryan Switzer for 5, and he goes out of bounds. It would be impossible for him to catch that ball the way it was thrown and the way he was running to not go out of bounds. So he did his best to get yards. He got 5, but the Steelers did stop the clock there. Okay, so you got a 3rd and 9 at the Tampa 36, and you figure if you're incomplete here, you're not having Boswell kick a 53-yard field goal after the way he's been kicking. And the Steelers take the shot deep left to Antonio Brown, but Ben's under pressure, and obviously he didn't think it was a go route. He thought Brown was supposed to cut it out to the chains and get the first down. And Ben came off in a very uncharacteristic move, I think. Basically slammed his helmet on the ground in his 2 hands. Dave, and apparently apologized for it after the game. I'm not sure I remember him reacting like that at any point.
He went full Tom Brady, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, look, I mean, the chemistry, something's not right. At the start of this, they'll get it worked out. But they haven't been. I don't know if this is just a byproduct of not getting enough time at practice at certain points, but they haven't been completely on the same page at the start of the season. They'll get it worked out, yada yada. But yeah, he was not happy. Ben wasn't happy about that. As you said, he started off his post-game press conference with apologizing for his actions to AB.
And the next guy who wasn't happy was Darius Hayward-Bay, because you finally again have a perfect situation. Barry punts it down there, the ball rolls to the 1, Hayward-Bay downs it, and then he's penalized for an illegal shift. And I will say we've not seen Darius Hayward-Bay get upset or do stupid stuff on the football field that I can recall in his time with the Steelers. And he's known as a good locker room guy, good special teams guy. So obviously, everybody, if you watched the game, you saw him, John, with the ref and get the flag. He clearly thought he was wronged. Was it, it's not the worst penalty in the game because of where they were on the field and everything else, but obviously the damage was already done with the illegal shift call. But you obviously still don't. I'm not going to give him a hall pass. You still don't want those things to happen. But it makes me want to, Dave, on the All-22, see this, because getting called for an illegal shift, they said he wasn't set. He's the gunner on the outside, not being set. I don't know if they meant he wasn't up on the line of scrimmage or what exactly, but he does this every week, all the time. That's his job. I'm interested to see if he got wronged on this one.
Well, here's the thing, and it's no excuse for DHB whatsoever. If there's anybody that seemingly week in, week out knows the rules in any situation on the football field, it's DHB. This guy, is always arguing certain things, balls out of the back of the end zone.
Right.
He is a guy that you always see talking to the refs because I really think he has a good understanding of the rules. And for him to be arguing that now, I haven't closely looked at it, so I'm with you. We'll see what the alternate. It's no excuse for him getting the penalty, however, but it would be interesting to look at, especially all we've talked about. The first three games here is how many unforced penalties the Steelers are getting, and then this is essentially 2 more penalties right here with an illegal shift and the unsportsmanlike conduct on top of it. I'm not excusing him, but yeah, I'm with you. I'm curious to see it because Darius Hayward-Bay is such a stickler and should be for knowing the rules kind of thing. But in no way, shape, or form am I excusing him. I saw one person say, on Twitter, if the Steelers lose this game, they should cut DHB. Come on, give me a break.
Okay, so now the Steelers, what they did on these next 3 pass plays, they played them. They weren't good throws by Fitzpatrick. And the Steelers had good coverage, and 3 straight plays.
That could have been 3 interceptions right there, quite honestly.
Could have. I mean, look, they weren't easy catches, but definitely, Fitzpatrick, particularly on the second throw, was off target. And then the third throw to Brate, they get the pass breakup as well. And
what were you thinking when they got that ball back after those penalties?
I thought we were going to have overtime. I thought the whole Steelers would keep them out of the end zone, but we're going to see overtime.
Yeah, I thought I was not the most glass half full guy
right.
at that point.
Right, and so okay, so Tampa's got to make a decision. 2:49 left and 2 timeouts. I would have punted. They're on their own 20. You're guaranteed to give up a field goal, although the way Boswell's kicking, who knows? But you're on your own 20, so you're going to give up points. And so I didn't think it was a bad decision to punt the ball. But if you argued the other way with me, I wouldn't argue against you. You got to make a play, and this is when Anger hits this 64-yard punt, and Switzer makes a great play to catch his ball over his shoulder on the dead run. He was probably 45 yards back, which is pretty far. You want to be kind of stepping into a ball when you're catching it, ideally, not moving backwards. And he makes a great play and gains 16 yards. So that was a significant play that probably won't get a lot of attention. And then Ben throws the ball to Juju when he gets kicked in the head when he's getting up by Golston. And that's it's basically all she wrote, as Connor goes for 17 on his last carry. So Connor goes for of his 64 yards or whatever it was, he goes for about 45 and 50 of it in his 3 carries toward the 3 of his carries at the end of the game.
That's kind of like what you want to see at times too, right? You want to see guys be able to finish them off on the ground in certain situations. So what were you saying on the 4th and 10 from the Tampa Bay 20? You had been inclined to go for it in that situation?
No, I would have punted as well. But if you argued the other way, I wouldn't have argued against you.
Yeah, I'm with you too, and I think it's knowing your competition, knowing what you. Now, if it's 4th and 10 from my own 20, and I'm down, 3 points at a time, right? If that's the Patriots, I think I punt for sure. But I'm with you. I would not have criticized them had they gone for it on 4th and 10, because you're thinking, okay, we got a pretty good shot at probably at least holding them to a field goal right now. And the way their kicker's kicking right now, is that even a guarantee? So, at worst, we would still need a touchdown with, you hope, around 2 minutes left there. So, yeah, either way you could go, either way you could have no issue with what they did there, I don't think.
You look at the NFL numbers, just if you're taking a look, Ryan Fitzpatrick leads the NFL in passing yards, 4 straight 100-yard games. He's one of 3 guys ever to do that. Ben's second in the league. Juju is 3rd in the league in receiving yards at 356. He's got 4 straight 100-yard games.
He is lit
is
as
as could be. Does Ben have a new favorite target? 27 receptions for Juju right now, and AB checking in with 24. AB averaging 8.8 yards a catch, Juju averaging 13.2 yards a catch. Just for a point of reference, Deshaun Jackson averaging 26 a catch, and Tyreek Hill averaging 22 a catch.
They'll get like I said, him. But I think predict the under with whatever numbers we were using with AB at the start of the season. I predicted him probably not having as good a season as he's had the past couple there. But I still think when the dust settles there, I think he's going to have right at 100 or whatever catches and all. But yeah, I mean, look, and not the start of the season that he would like to have. If you're winning and he's at least, catching 5 or 6 balls a game and a touchdown, he should be okay. What you worry about is, what happens if you get into another game potential where they might, close one, and he's not getting the football to his satisfaction. It's too early to worry about him, but he's going to continue to get that bracket, that attention that he's gotten, and at times you wonder if Ben has maybe forced the ball too much to AB, right? In the past, because
it's happened in the past. You can certainly, people say it happened it happened in the Chiefs game. People will argue.
Him getting a lot of attention is not new. Talking about AB in coverage. So now you have to, if you have options like Juju, you have to make teams pay and pay dearly for giving AB that kind of attention. Now, here's the thing that goes back to what we said about Ben earlier in the podcast was he is not hit for that deep down the side. You start making defenses pay over the top, down outside the numbers. Things are going to start loosening up for AB a little bit, but you got to hit those. You have to hit those, and you have to continue to hit those underneath things, and you have to be able to hit the tight end down the seam in order for all that stuff to happen. So, once they start hitting some of these long ones down the side, that should open things up a little bit more for AB. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm not worried. I just hope AB's a little bit more patient, as this thing progresses.
Well, Dave, I got one wrong. I had 31. I don't know. I think I had 31-30 Tampa or something right around the final score.
Wait. Say that first part again.
Yeah, I got it wrong. So, I've been against the Steelers the first 2 weeks, but had them winning. And in this one, I'm trying to remember because I picked on two different things. I think I had 31-27 or 31-30 Tampa. So I was pretty close on the score, and I did say I wasn't going to play it. I was going to play the over. And, that would clearly the over was the winner. But, as we've talked about in all our years of doing the Terrible Podcast, we keep getting asked for advice as to where to bet and who to bet on and whatever. And as we've said all along, all this season, check out our buddies at mybookie.ag. And who you're betting with is just as important as who you're betting on. And that's why we've been going to mybookie.ag. They're the best in the business. They've been in the business for years. Great reviews online. The mobile site's easy to use. Lay down some cash. You win big today. And look, here's the deal.
You can do fantasy too. You can bet on fantasy with them as well too.
Yeah, exactly. Get in on fantasy. Just play Juju every week in fantasy and play Mike Evans every week in fantasy against the Steelers defense. Players ever playing the Steelers defense right now in fantasy are guaranteed for some big numbers. They get over-unders and how many fantasy points a guy will score. You win, they pay. That's how it works. And they've got two promotions going on. We've talked about this. If you haven't gotten involved this year, you can get in and enter terrible in the promotion code and up to $1,000. They'll match it 100% up to $1,000 on your initial bet. And if you put terrible 25 in, they'll match 25, but it's got to be after 7 p.m. at night up to, any deposit over 100. They were 100 or higher. They will add 25 to your deposit. If you after 7 p.m. Eastern time, you get in there, terrible 25. So that's it. They got a couple of promotions going. Check it out. MyBookie online, mybookie.ag. Don't forget to use the promo. You play, you win, you get paid. And the Steelers won, Dave, as they ran out the clock with 3 kneel downs, Ben, at the end of the day.
All right, injuries. Mike Hilton, who
we didn't tell you. We didn't actually talk the inactive, so let's just knock that out because I think everybody knows. But obviously, they started with the 2 guys in the O-line, and the O-line was average. I think we haven't talked about the O-line. The O-line was average, I would say.
Yeah, not the best game for Matt Filer for his first NFL start at right tackle. I think he has started at right guard. I like Matt Filer a lot more as a guard than I do a tackle. And
were you surprised? We thought it was going to be Chooks on Wednesday.
I understand it. I don't like it, but I understand it. At some point, you're going to have to get Chooks' feet wet outside of just this reporting eligible stuff and all like that. So I think it's more of a sign of where they think he is in his overall kind of picking things up and all with Chooks. Filer's obviously been around a little bit longer. Hopefully Gilbert comes back, quickly from this hamstring and is able to play against the Ravens. And then hopefully, should we have this issue on later on down in the season, midway point, hopefully it's Okafor that's the one that starts in there, because I don't think that you want Matt Filer starting many games for you at right tackle. I think he's got size. I understand he played at, was it Bloomberg College, and I played, tackle there and all. But I think in the limited time that we've seen him, especially during preseason, I think he's a much better guard than he is a tackle there. So hopefully we don't have to see that too much more. Him and Finney just didn't seem to work that well together. But as I always say, when it comes to offensive line and evaluation, I'm not even going to begin to touch that until I watch the all 22 on that. I mean, look, Villanueva got put on skates a couple of times in that game as well. Villanueva had a couple of penalties on there. We'll see what, next time you and I talk tomorrow, as a matter of fact, I should have a better idea. Hopefully the all 22 will be out on there. Have a better idea.
How about Vince Williams playing 100% of the snaps last night defensively? He, Edmonds, and Hayden are the only guys defensively. Bostic was in there for 73%.
My initial view of the tape too on Williams is it wasn't a great game for him. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see. What the all 22 shows on that. But my initial 2 times through of it, was that I didn't think it was a great game for Vince.
We haven't mentioned Javon Hargrave in 3 weeks. We haven't, Stephon Tuitt really has not done a whole lot in there for Ian Cam. We're both in there for about 70% of the snaps. Like I said, they were able to get some pressure. Tuitt got one of his sacks called back because of a roughing.
What about TJ Watt? We haven't really, since week 1, haven't hollered his name out.
TJ coverage a lot last night. We saw him running down the field, and they were talking about, obviously Witten was talking about, I don't know how much Witten has watched of Watt. I mean, Watt is clearly a guy who can run with guys down the field, but, Brate made some good catches over him. There was just some good plays.
Let's see what else. You wanted to finish out the inactives. Really, that was the most probably to start the season here. That was the easiest week to try to predict the inactives right there, because you had 3 guys doubtful in Gilbert, in DeCastro, and Morgan Burnett. So those guys were doubtful. You had Rudolph. That's a gimme there. And then Justin Hunter. I mean, you knew he was, there's not going to be many times Justin Hunter dresses movement.
Jack Banner.
No, Banner was up.
Oh, but Banner was up. Okay.
Right. And you knew, and
2 guys down. Of course he was. Right.
Right. Two guys down. You knew he was going to be up. The only really question was, and because you have so many safeties, you had an idea that Marcus Allen wasn't going to get a helmet. Last night, and he didn't. So, overall, fairly easy inactive list. As far as injury goes, Mike Hilton, first play of the fourth quarter over there on the sideline tackling Humphrey. It looked like it might be worse than what it was, the way he was down there grasping that thing, and we'll see. It still might be pretty bad, but I think Mike Hilton even said after the game he thought it was hyperextended elbow. Mike Tomlin called it significant after the game, so we'll see. Mike Tomlin, of course, will meet the media later on today, but to hear Mike Hilton talk, he thinks he might be able to play against the Ravens, and that was the only injury of note there. What do you think about all this Le'Veon Bell trading and all like this talk?
It's not going to happen. It just doesn't make sense for anybody. I hear people talking about Steelers getting 3rd compensatory pick. That's right, in 2020. So if somebody offered you a 3rd this year, that's a better thing than a 3rd next year, or a 4th this year might be equal to a 3rd next year. I don't know. You can debate that. I just don't see the benefit for the other team to, give up something significant for, maybe kind of 10-ish games of Le'Veon Bell. They're not getting him in this week and, getting him ready to go. So you're down to 11 or 10 games. Don't see it happening.
I'd gladly take, I'd rather get paid today for a hamburger than 2020. I mean, I'm not against them trading him if they can get third round pick or better. But that's not, people say, Dave, why do you not want them to trade? No, it's not that I don't want them to trade Bell. The thing that is that I try to explain to people is this isn't as simple as people think that it is to get this deal done. And it's mostly because it's related to Le'Veon Bell. Where is the motivation for Bell to come in right now and sign the tag to get traded to a team that he might not want to go to? And I mean, he in self-preservation mode. He cannot get a new deal right now. And don't tell me the wink, wink, nudge, nudge, backroom deal, blah, blah, because that's just BS. Okay, a lot of things can happen, and there's no guarantee he's going to come in and play. And why would you want to risk going out and playing, and not putting up the stats that you want to put up, and potentially not only suffering an injury, but maybe decreasing your free agency value? It's more slanted to why this deal won't get done, be able to deal him, because of Le'Veon Bell's side more so than the Steelers side. And God bless him if Kevin Colbert's able to deal him and get a third round pick for him now, God bless him, because I damn sure didn't think, and I think we see why the Raiders should not have traded for Martavis. I think you can understand why I thought that deal would never get done when Martavis Bryant, and props to Kevin Colbert for pulling off the magic trick there. I think I'll be surprised, doubly surprised, if he's able to do it again with Le'Veon Bell here.
I agree. And we got Tomlin coming up in a couple hours. We'll have John Eisenberg, our Baltimore beat guy, joining us tomorrow. So we'll be right back at it, turning things around and get into more of this tomorrow.
The thing with this defense, real quick, is they can get better. Now, we saw a couple years ago they go through the midway point of the season, they weren't good, and they started to turn things around. They better get busy on this. That's all I got to say. We'll see what Mike Tomlin has to say. You and I will talk about it on Wednesday along with John Eisenberg. You can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow David Todd on Twitter at David M. Todd. You can follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the cause, go to SteelersDepot.com and hit that donate button. Upper right navigational bar. We have a new ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com available for you as well for $25 for a year membership if you'd like to go that route. Have a lot of people taking advantage of that as well. And until the same time tomorrow,
as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with the 1-1-1 Pittsburgh Steelers with Dave and Dave.